Some called them visionaries. Others dismissed them as charlatans, merely chasing attention. But when wars they predicted erupted on schedule, when leaders they named rose to power, when disasters they described struck the exact locations they had written down, silence replaced skepticism. These were not lucky guesses buried in vague language. They were specific claims, recorded with dates and details, later confirmed by history itself. From ancient seers to modern writers, 20 predictions crossed the line from impossible to undeniable. Want to explore this unsettling record? Then subscribe and join us. Here are the prophecies no one could explain away. Number 1. In 1555, the French astrologer Michel de Nostradame published a collection of quatrains that would haunt historians for centuries. One verse described a young lion overcoming an old one on a field of battle, piercing his eyes through a golden cage, leading to a cruel death. 4 years later, King Henry II of France jousted against Gabriel de Montgomery. A lance splintered, pierced the king's gilded visor, and drove through his eye. He died 10 days later, and the prophecy entered legend as the first verified glimpse of fate written before it arrived. Number 2. The Book of Daniel, written around 165 BCE, described a sequence of empires rising and falling in specific order. Scholars later matched these descriptions to Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, with details that aligned disturbingly well with recorded history. The text named characteristics, durations, and transitions that would not occur for centuries after its composition, leaving theologians and skeptics alike unable to dismiss the precision hidden in ancient scripture. Number 3. In 1898, author Morgan Robertson published a novella called Futility about a massive ocean liner named Titan. The ship was described as unsinkable, carried too few lifeboats, and struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic during an April crossing. 14 years later, the Titanic followed almost the same script. Similar size, similar speed, similar arrogance, and an identical fate. Robertson claimed no psychic gift, but the parallels remain difficult to explain as mere coincidence. Number 4. In 1865, American author Mark Twain wrote to his brother describing a vivid dream. He saw their younger brother Henry lying in a metal coffin, a bouquet of white flowers with a single red rose resting on his chest. Weeks later, Henry died in a steamboat explosion. When Twain arrived at the funeral home, he found Henry in a metal coffin, and as he watched, a woman placed a bouquet of white flowers with one red rose on the body. The image matched his dream exactly. Number 5. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, delivered thousands of readings while in trance states during the early 20th century. In 1929, he warned of a coming economic collapse that would shake the foundations of American society. Months later, the stock market crashed, triggering the Great Depression. Cayce also predicted the deaths of 2 presidents in office, events that later matched the fates of Franklin Roosevelt in 1945 and John Kennedy in 1963. Number 6. In 1912, a British journalist named William T. Stead published a fictional account of a massive ocean liner sinking after hitting an iceberg, killing passengers because of insufficient lifeboats. He wrote it as a warning to the shipping industry. That same year, Stead boarded the Titanic for its maiden voyage. He did not survive the sinking. The man who predicted the disaster became one of its victims, claimed by the very fate he had tried to prevent through fiction. Number 7. Jeane Dixon gained national attention in 1956 when Parade magazine published her prediction that a Democrat-elected president in 1960 would die or be assassinated in office. John F. Kennedy won that election and was killed in Dallas in November 1963. Dixon had specified the year, the party, and the outcome years before the bullets were fired, cementing her reputation as one of the most accurate psychics of the 20th century. Number 8. In 1900, civil engineer John Elfreth Watkins published an article in the Ladies' Home Journal listing predictions for the year 2000. He described wireless telephones carried in pockets, photographs transmitted across the world in minutes, and high-speed trains connecting cities faster than horses could gallop. Every prediction seemed impossible at the time. A century later, smartphones, digital photography, and bullet trains had made each one reality. Number 9. Author H.G. Wells wrote of atomic bombs in his 1914 novel, The World Set Free, describing weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single explosion. 3 decades later, the Manhattan Project turned that fiction into horrific fact over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Wells had imagined the unimaginable, and history delivered it with terrifying precision. Number 10. Nostradamus wrote of a great fire consuming the ancient city in the year 66. In 1666, the Great Fire of London erupted and burned for 4 days, destroying over 13,000 structures and leaving the city in ashes. The numbers aligned, the destruction matched, and another prediction crossed from impossible to undeniable. Number 11. In 1968, author Philip K. Dick published a novel imagining a world of targeted advertising, mood-altering drugs prescribed for everyday life, and screens that knew what users wanted before they asked. His fiction described a society pacified by entertainment and medication, monitored without realizing it. Decades later, algorithms, antidepressants, and personalized feeds became the very architecture of modern existence. Dick did not claim prophecy, yet his dark imagination mapped the 21st century with uncomfortable and undeniable accuracy. Number 12. Nikola Tesla wrote in 1926 about a device small enough to fit in a vest pocket that would allow people to see and hear events happening anywhere in the world instantaneously. He described wireless transmission of images and sound across vast distances, connecting humanity in ways that seemed like nothing more than fantasy at the time. The smartphone arrived 80 years later, fulfilling every detail Tesla had committed to writing. Number 13. In 1994, a Bulgarian mystic named Baba Vanga reportedly predicted that the 44th president of the United States would be African American and that he would face great crisis during his time in office. Barack Obama became the 44th president in 2009. Whether her other predictions hold remains debated, but this one joined the verified list with precision that skeptics struggled to explain away. Number 14. Science fiction author Isaac Asimov predicted in 1964 that by 2014, humans would communicate through screens, work from home regularly, and attend meetings without physical presence. He imagined video calls replacing travel and remote labor becoming normal. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated these exact patterns decades later, turning his 50-year-old vision into sudden global reality. Asimov had simply looked further down the road than most were willing to believe. Number 15. In 2000, an episode of The Simpsons depicted a future where Donald Trump had become president of the United States, leaving the country in financial difficulty. The episode was intended as absurdist satire. 16 years later, Trump won the presidency, and the show's writers admitted they had never expected their joke to play out in the real world exactly as they had drawn it. Number 16. The 2011 film Contagion depicted a global pandemic originating from bat to human transmission, spreading through international travel, overwhelming hospitals, and triggering debates over masks and vaccines. 9 years later, COVID-19 followed an almost identical trajectory. The screenwriters had consulted epidemiologists to craft their scenario, but watching their careful fiction become harsh reality unsettled even the experts who had helped create it. Number 17. In his 2015 TED Talk, Bill Gates warned that the world was unprepared for a respiratory pandemic that could kill millions. He described inadequate testing infrastructure, overwhelmed medical systems, and inevitable economic collapse. 5 years later, COVID-19 arrived and followed his outline with disturbing precision. His warning had been public, recorded, and shared widely, yet it went largely ignored until the virus proved him painfully correct. Number 18. Researcher Ray Kurzweil predicted in 1999 that by the 2020s, artificial intelligence would begin writing coherent text, composing music, generating images, and holding conversations indistinguishable from human output. By 2023, systems like ChatGPT and image generators had delivered exactly this reality. Kurzweil did not make vague guesses. He calculated technological trends, and his calculations proved correct within the decade he had specified. Number 19. In 1981, author Dean Koontz described a deadly virus called Wuhan 400 in his thriller The Eyes of Darkness. The fictional pathogen originated in a Chinese laboratory and spread globally with terrifying speed. When COVID-19 emerged from Wuhan decades later, readers revisited his pages with deep unease, unsettled that fiction had named the very city where reality would eventually strike. Number 20. Among the remaining quatrains of Nostradamus are verses describing great floods, shifting climates, and conflicts over dwindling resources. Some have not yet occurred. Others appear to be unfolding in real time. The 20 predictions verified here proved specific enough to unsettle those who dismissed prophecy as delusion. History confirmed these visions. Others may still be waiting. If the patterns disturb you, share your thoughts below. Like the video, subscribe, and return for the next journey through history's strangest records.